You're listening to the G&D show with Govinda and Dan of City of Bristol College. If you've got any comments or questions for us to read out on the show, then email us at thegdshowbristol@gmail.com. Again, that's thegdshowbristol@gmail.com. Let's get on with the show. Welcome back to college, everyone. It's the G&D show. My name is Dan.
And my name's Gigi.
And this is... Actually, do you know what? I think this is episode 9 we're on now of the G&D show. Welcome. We're going back to the regular format with the starting off of this episode with the phrase of the day. And this sets the theme of today. Gigi and I may be doing a little bit of cathartic offloading today. we might just get a little bit tense, but what we established was that this is a topic that a lot of staff, I believe, will want to hear, but also a lot of students will want to learn. So this is the phrase of the day, and it comes from the infamous Steve Jobs. It's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. The theme of this episode is how we can start saying no, because it is something that really needs to happen so quickly. Gigi, I did the phrase of the day, so you go ahead with unpacking what was just shared there.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? This is such a relevant topic, not just now, but just in general as well. I think with saying no, as the quote of the day beautifully puts it, it does really redirect us in terms of what we think is important and what is important. But what I would definitely say is there seems to be this idea that we have unlimited energy. Yeah. But I personally think energy is finite. When you get tired, you get tired. Now, I don't want to get too much into the psychological aspect, but I will briefly touch upon it because I think it's relevant about why people find it difficult to say no in general. But I think to our listeners out there, I think it's pretty standard to call upon an experience where we've taken on way more than we should be taking on, right? And so if you're listening to this, I want to invite you to that sensation, that feeling, that time, and how frustrated you may have felt without putting words in your mouth. So saying no, I think, is important in the sense that not only does it redirect our energy and we begin to focus on being more productive, because I don't think it's possible to do 101 things and be successful at them all. There might be genetic freaks of nature out there who might be fantastic at doing that. But generally, I think it's agreed upon that we're not that good at it, right? I'm not good at that, right? I'm good at focusing on certain things specifically one at a time to give it the most energy. Now, for my personal account and also coaching other people, adults outside of this job itself, the correlation I would say between the inability to say no is inextricably linked, and this is funny, to people pleasing.
Okay.
Yeah, people pleasing. This is my theory. This is my experience. So when you're listening to this, I don't want you to feel this is a universal thing. Okay, this is just unpacking my own experience. Now, generally, I think let me give you a clear-cut example. Many years ago, when I was working in education as a teacher, I witnessed a lot of teacher trainers coming through. Yeah, so brand new teachers learning their craft, not learning their subject because they know their subject already, but like basic behavior management, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's a lot to take on in your first year as a teacher, as a student, right? And that's fantastic, and it can be overwhelming. Now, I had the privilege of going into these classrooms and observing these people, and it was absolutely fantastic. But what I found in general is that these people were taking on way too much and instantly becoming people pleasers because they wanted basically the acknowledgement and the verification of their peers. Okay, so they went out of their way to take more on than they should. And as you can imagine, Dan, you don't have to be a teacher trainer to work out how much work is involved to become a teacher. Sure. This is your first year, you're chucked in a classroom, there's behavior management, there's teaching the curriculum, there's building relationships, there's a lot. So eventually that works out as being, the result of that ends up becoming burnout. So that is just a heuristic, and one of my experiences of observationally seeing that and what can happen. And so, Dan, I'm going to invite you to talk a little bit about maybe your experiences.
There's no point, man. We've run out of
No?
time.
Oh no!
We're going to
Of
have to
course,
go to
yeah,
the
yeah.
episode. But that's all right. No,
Okay.
that's all right. You've given it the rundown. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Okay, I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
You're listening to the G&D Show with Gigi and Dan. Remember, we're catch-up coordinators here at City of Bristol College. So if you want any one-to-one conversations, group sessions, or indeed you want us to answer any of your questions here on the show, then drop us a line at thegdshowbristol@gmail.com. That's thegdshowbristol@gmail.com. Let's get into the show. All right, so we're back. And what is going to happen now is, of course, we get into the bulk of it. And I'm actually gonna start this one because yeah, Gigi took the first 5 minutes, which is absolutely fine. But ultimately, what he stepped on was the first part of the whole bulk of the conversation, right? So I'm gonna touch on your element of people pleasing and
Yes, please.
And say I think there's more to it than that. That's one part of it. I think that can be a facet that certainly drives a person not being able to say no. But before even that, I think I want to just quickly talk about boundaries and understand this, because for the students who are listening to this and going, saying no, what do I need to learn about saying no? And for the teachers as well, who I don't need to say no. Sometimes I like doing these things and it's good. We're all working together as a team and da-da-da. Setting boundaries is so vitally important. Boundaries literally are the limits to which we are comfortable in our life. And that is, of course, in terms of our emotional boundaries, our intellectual boundaries, physical boundaries, so on and so forth. So if I use it this way, we learned in the safeguarding session that if you put your arm out straight in front of you, then basically what you're saying is that's actually your personal space. Everything that your arm represents is your personal space. So actually where your arm ends is your physical personal boundary. And anything that comes within that, obviously, some people can, some people can't. You get uncomfortable. You're comfortable with people being outside that oh Lord, you're comfortable with people being outside that boundary, but not comfortable with people being inside that boundary. So you're looking at the limitations upon which you're okay with some things and not okay with others, right? So if we look, for example, with this, in terms of saying no, and in the context of work, and in the context of productivity, what I think I'm going to put it to is two things: psychological boundaries and intellectual boundaries. They do actually have an element of stamina. So for those of you, again, who are aware of physical stamina, who know all about the idea that your body eventually gets tired if you do things for a certain amount of time, this is the same for your psyche, and it's the same for intellect. If you're processing information so much over a day, your brain eventually does get tired and you find it harder and harder to do simple things. Same psychologically, your brain function will suffer if you're not resting it enough and if you're working it too hard throughout the day. So what you're reaching are boundaries upon which your brain is able to function, right, day to day. We want to be able to set those boundaries hard and firm for ourselves, for self-preservation, and ironically, for our own ability to grow. Because again, much like our physicality, if we overwork our body, it doesn't actually grow. It doesn't actually grow. It just stays fatigued. And actually, in some cases, I believe it can get weaker. So the same thing can happen to our brain. We're not getting any more productive. We're not really getting any better in our memory or in our processing ability. We're just constantly wearing it out and not giving it a chance to re-heal. So setting boundaries can be really, really powerful. How do we do that? It is, of course, the power of no. It's the power of being able to recognize and pause in ourselves to say, can I do this? Am I actually okay with doing this? And our instincts will tell us that straight away. The moment the moment presents itself to us, we'll have a little bit of a feeling about it, going, I don't really want to. I don't really feel comfortable doing that. I'd rather not. And then what happens is you start to feel your boundaries being broken when you catch your mind making reasons for you to do it. When you literally start going, but I might get in trouble, but they might be mad at me, but I might be leaving them in the dust, but I might lose my job, but I might lose my friend. That's when you're crossing your boundaries. The moment you start giving yourselves reasons to do it. The
Mm.
first instance is you saying, I can't do this.
Mm.
And it comes from a gut sensation. And I mean, there's so much more that I will go into it as we progress through this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to get us to understand boundaries first, because that's really what this stems from, is us crossing our boundaries, not saying no, and overworking ourselves. I'm going to end it here and hand it back over to you, Gigi, and say, when we all say we're really busy and we've got so much work on, I actually was Googling this while you were talking, Gigi, initially, which is why it looked a bit rude. But I knew this from a coaching course that I'd done, but I wanted to get it up here on my screen so I could read it out. The title of this article is, "The average Brit works for 8 hours every day, but only spends 3 hours actually working."
Wow.
That's the average Brit, right? I'm sure a lot of teachers are listening to this right now going, how the F dare you, Dan? How dare you? I am hell for leather all day. How dare you? In the coaching course, we were taught that everyone thinks they're working about 90 to 95%, right? When the reality showed that actually it was closer to 65 to 70% for that study as well. The productivity gap continues to make headlines, with the recent OECD statistics showing that British workers are on average 8% less productive per hour than workers in the US, 11% less productive than the French, and 14% down on Germans. So effectively, we are not actually as productive. We might be busy, but we are not productive for the time that we're busy. And that is a reflection upon our inability to say no. We're juggling plates all over the place that I think we probably spend a lot of time trying to compartmentalize what we need to do and prioritizing and organizing and not actually doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm gonna put it down there, and Gigi, you pick it up. What do you have to say?
No, I agree with you on that. And in fact, I've seen this phenomena, as you said, of being busy, compartmentalizing ideas, and then to the point where we got so many things to do that we procrastinate about it and don't get one thing done out of those things. This is such a phenomena. And actually, this is the darker side of being too busy or taking on too much, is that if you really think about it, like you said, I don't know on average how many things people can take on. That's not a discussion, or is the discussion. But I do question the level of productivity. I mean, those stats that you've just given recently, I mean, I wasn't aware of that, but that shows you quite a lot, right? And then we pride ourselves on, yes, we're busy, we have coffee in the morning, and we're being super productive for 8 hours. And yet, I don't even know how many of those people take caffeine. I mean, I'm not even going to speculate. But
I love the way you say "take," by the way. Take caffeine, like they're sat in the morning injecting it into their veins.
Well, you know, as an ex caffeine junkie, man, I can tell you a lot of stuff about caffeine. Do you know? This is it. I kind of laugh at it now, but it's true, isn't it? And it goes to show you that actually, where we think we're being more productive, we're actually being counterproductive, aren't we? And it actually takes taking an element of stepping back and looking at the bigger picture for what it's worth, you know? And hey, by the way, as a disclaimer, if you enjoy coffee, great, enjoy it. By the way,
you drug addict. Enjoy your caffeine.
Exactly. I totally understand. I totally understand that there's people out there who need it, and you know, they cannot be productive without it. And that's not. I'm not being judgmental. You do what you have to do. You're grown adults.
Very
hey, if you want Dunkin' Donuts with that as well, go for it. You know, it's fine. But yes, and that's what I would say. And so, I mean, Dan, like, we're coaches. Obviously, we look at things mostly through the lens of coaching. That's a no-brainer, right? And so let's talk a little bit about the ways we can stay organized around saying no, right? I mean, understanding what it looks like in practicality. Because, you know, like boundaries, me and you always talk about boundaries, and we know the power of boundaries. And in fact, it's so cool that you mentioned the different subtleties and nuances of boundaries, how they come up, you know, intellectually, physically. And you're right, we do cross those boundaries. We also cross other people's boundaries when we're not checking in with them, because we're probably not checking in with ourselves. So I always say, this again, I hate giving advice. The best coaches don't give out advice, actually. I know that sounds weird, but I would definitely encourage for you to communicate very clearly, articulately, when you feel that you're breaching one of your own boundaries, and whether you think you might be breaching someone else's boundary. Because I tell you something, boundaries are not just spoken, they're communicated, they're executed, and that's basically what they are. Yeah. So definitely do that when especially when you get that sinking feeling like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I don't think I can do it. I mean, you'd be surprised what happens when you are able to talk about that and say you might not be, okay with doing that. Of course, do it in a respectful way, because I can totally understand, you know, the fear of losing face amongst your peers, and also, you know, offending people. I get that, but that's not the point. The point is not to offend people. The point is to create a more organized, harmonious state of being when it comes to working.
Yeah. I think following on from that, when you say, make sure you communicate your boundaries in a healthy manner, you made me think of a quote that I reckon some members of staff have already thought. So I'm going to quickly say it here. No is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And I think that's powerful on its own. Now, of course, what I am not saying, and I don't think Gigi's saying this either, is that you can actually always get away with a no. Certainly for some of you learners listening right now, because I can already hear you being like, oh, try saying that to my mum, try saying that to my dad, right? Try saying them without anything else added on to the rest of it.
I get that.
The thing is, what needs to be practiced is a no, a very firm no, with the excuse, the truth. I'll give you an example, and this was the first time, actually, I'll be honest, that I actually put a no in place with the truth, and that says a lot. And this was last year, so I was 30 years old, and this is the first time in my working life that I put down a no with an actual genuine reason, the real reason. It was after the George Floyd murder, and it was seeing the response. I was unfortunately in a space on social media that I thought was the place for me to be. It felt safe. I felt good there, but suddenly it was not, and all of the bigots, all of the racists came out. All of them came out in droves, and it was a huge reminder to me that while I work to build my life and bring myself together and become a good human being, fundamentally, there are people out there who literally will never, no matter how hard I try, will never see me as a human being. And while I don't know these people, and why I know it shouldn't matter, it does. It hurts. It hurts to know that I will never be seen as human to what I thought were people who I could trust and care about, right? So that's always painful. And at this point, I was being given work, right, to do. And it was because that I'm a happy person, happy, positive guy, that they were giving me this work. And they were like, hey, can you do this because you're a positive mental attitude guy? And I actually had to say to them, no, I can't do this. I actually can't do this. And I had to say, because right now I'm not well mentally. I'm not in the headspace for positive mental attitude. This is really hard for me right now to deal with. And I didn't lose my job. No one was mad at me. Obviously, they still had to get the job done, so they went to find someone else to do it. But it was in being able to just say, no, I can't. Because I think what we don't realize is that when we say yes and we cross our own boundaries, what happens is we don't realize, because this is what I was aware of at the time, is that they don't know what's going on with me.
No.
I can't expect them to know what's going on with me. I can't expect them to understand. I mean, I guess I'll have to say it. Predominantly white colleagues, I can't expect them to understand what it's like being a person of color. I can't. So I can't sit there and expect them to understand what I'm going through while the world is spouting racist rhetoric, which sucks, but that's the reality. So I had to communicate it to him. But if I had said yes, taken that job on and done that job, I wouldn't have done it to my best, and I would have been resentful about it. I would have resented my own colleagues for not reading my mind. And where does what good does that do me? And I feel like that's what happens in workplaces so often, where we're saying yes all the time, and we become resentful, even though actually at the end of the day, it's no one's fault but our own for not having developed and practiced the art of saying no. We can't be mad at people, because also this is the truth. If I offer something to someone and they're constantly saying yes, 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 you know this, Gigi. If I'm offering something and they're constantly saying yes, 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 it won't be until I start to see visible cracks, visible issues. Do I go, are you okay? By which point it's too late. Of course they're not okay. They've got too much work on. Why is it too late for that? But I'm not going to know until it's communicated to me. No, Dan, take that work back. I can't do it. You know what I mean? So it only does us a disservice to try and be busy all the time, to justify our job, to justify our pay, to justify ourselves as students, right? To justify our sense of productivity or progress or growth, to constantly be doing, when actually we can have a full book with some space for breaks and processing what we've done, and not feel guilty about that. Because I know in no job description ever anywhere does it say you should be going hell for leather every damn second of the day or you will lose your job. That's not written in a single job description, or at least it better bloody not be anyway. But certainly not in the school system. Yeah, certainly not. I do think it's possible for reform, because at the moment I'm also speaking and I can hear teachers' voices going, well, that's not a reality that we can turn up to,
Yeah,
and all I'll say back is, have you actually tried en masse? Not you as an individual. Have you tried en masse? Have you tried to encourage schools or teams, departments to start whittling down their responsibilities and setting boundaries clearly on what they can and cannot do, and therefore focusing on what really is important to that department and getting that done? Have you actually tried that? Have you tried going to senior management and having a chat with them and going, hey, this is a mess. Can we please sort it out? You know, because that really needs to take place. It's not just going to take one person.
Yeah,
because
no,
eventually that
I
person
agree.
becomes isolated.
I agree. And I've seen that on a wider social community or cohesive community standard in a previous college, where actually it took one staff member to really lose it. And I'm deliberately withholding certain information, but then the focus was shifted completely by virtue of that happening, and it was more about, okay, how can we be more mentally supporting our own well-being and looking out for our colleagues, but mostly ourselves, because that's where it starts. We need to obviously, not a popular opinion, but our well-being starts with ourselves, you know. And that was phenomenal. That was the first organization that had seen where they were able to make that shift in a relatively small period of time. And actually it was all about going away and finishing at the right times, you know, not overworking. I mean, I think there's a policy actually there where there was a certain amount of time where staff had to literally go home so they didn't risk overworking. So yeah, there are things that can be done, and I'm a firm believer that we can change things when we band together as a community and voice these concerns.
Definitely. I think for the learners, I'm conscious that you guys are hearing this and maybe you're thinking, well, you know, what does that do for me? I don't have a senior manager. What the hell are you talking about? I would say for young people who are still dependent, there are some things that you can say no to. There are some things that unfortunately you can't at this point say no to or have your own freedoms with, but that's because you're still dependent on someone to put a roof over your head. So there will be boundaries.
Absolutely.
I would say that actually practice these no's, practice setting boundaries, because I've actually had one-to-ones in the past with students who just want to be able to say no and learn how to do it. And I've had those one-to-one conversations with them. So again, Gigi and I, happily, if you want to learn how to set boundaries, Gigi and I are right here for those conversations.
Absolutely.
I think the best way to describe it, though, is practicing your boundaries also lets you know who your real ones are. When you say no about something, when you put up a boundary and you're like, that's where the line is drawn, and they respect that, and they're like, I'm really sorry, my bad, and they stop, that's a real one. That's a keeper. Whether it's friends, family, whatever, you've got someone who understands boundaries. And that's not to say that they can't have their own, you know, opinion or anything like that at all. It's just the fact that they have respected the fact that you've put up a wall. You put up a sign that says, this is where we stop. Okay. And they've like, I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that boundary. That's a real one. If you've got somewhere if you set up boundaries, and I think this is something, specifically for students, for yourself in terms of relationships, learning, and things like that. When you come to a place where you think you're at your limits, which I can imagine can be quite regularly, put that boundary up and practice making sure it's firm. Make sure it's really there. Don't let it fall down. Not for friends, not for boyfriends, girlfriends, partners, for family. Keep that boundary in place for yourself, because that's for your mental well-being right there. Having your boundaries crossed habitually can really mess with your mental well-being, because it kind of feels dehumanizing, like you're not respected, you don't matter. And that's why you don't keep those sorts of people around. Mums and dads, guardians, there's a gray area there, because they're there, of course, to guide you, to keep you safe, to make sure you're okay. So they're going to put up boundaries against your boundaries and be like, nah, no, this is why this is here. You don't understand this yet, but this is why this is here. But there are some things that you can certainly discern and distinguish apart from others, where you're like, all right, this is a boundary I have. There it is. But practice it. Practice it and see. I have to say, this is something that I understand. I mean, someone, I will say this, someone who uses TikTok at the moment, it's clear one of the larger conversations among young people still is the constant crossing of boundaries, predominantly from men to women. Men crossing women's boundaries far too often. It's a real problem.
It is.
It still is massive problem. Even as an adult, it's a conversation I bring up on the app, and the amount of engagement I get from just talking about it is insane. So clearly, even as adults, it's a huge problem. So let's start practicing and honoring people's boundaries. Yeah, when people put up resistance, they're telling you how to treat them with respect. So the moment you say no to that, you are choosing not to respect them. And when you put your hand up and say no, and you set a boundary, and they've chosen not to respect your boundary, they've chosen not to respect you, they need to go straight in the bin, get in the sea.
Exactly. And can I just quickly add something to that as well? It's because you brought something to my mind, actually, where I do a lot of relationship coaching outside of work. The amount of times boundaries comes up, Dan, is just, it comes up all the time, right?
Of course.
Whether it's people who have a lack of awareness around their own boundaries on how to set them, or just someone who just, like you said, is not very confident with asserting those boundaries. And dare I say this, I'm being very mindful as I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because otherwise I risk not saying it. I personally find that it's so difficult for women to talk about their boundaries and assert their boundaries. And so I'm saying this very carefully, respectfully, and I'm trying to unpack those things myself to see why it's going on. But I think it's important that, we don't put them in a position where they're not able to even, say what they have to say. But it is something that needs to be practiced by all of us. But I see this time and time again. And especially if you are a person and you've tried boundaries and you think, God, they don't work. I've asserted them. I've spoken about them. But my partner, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my best friend, they don't respect them. Yeah. Then I'm going to say something that's probably going to be quite upsetting and not popular, but you might need to check in with those people. You might need to have a look if they are actually worth having around. Because if you are fearful of speaking to someone openly about your boundaries, then that person is not very respecting of you and your boundaries, period. Yeah. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. I'm going to say that one of the reasons that it may be harder for women, even in this century, to show boundaries, and actually not show boundaries, but demonstrate boundaries. I'm seeing it happen more, which is great. But I think one of the reasons is, honestly, men have never, as far as I'm aware, in modern history, had any parts of their body be part of policy or law. Not once. I can't imagine what it would be like to have a part of my body governed by law, like in the way that it is, like intrusively. Jeez. Not intrusive. What was what I'm looking for? I think it's intrusively. I think so. Like it's an intrusive policy. So it's not even about the external part of my body. It's inside me. And I think that sets a tone. That sets a really strong tone of women's bodies in general. And of course, we talked about this last week a little bit, but the concept of women's bodies ever being brought into law, policy, anything like that, really shows how it's not really given the freedom. Oh God, I just said it. I hate the fact that I just said it. Excuse me. I meant women's bodies are not given the freedom that men's bodies have. And so almost before birth, from the moment of conception or from the moment that child has a sex, an identifiable sex, and it's female, it's kind of like, right, it's now under that category of your body can be policed, basically. You don't actually have autonomy over it. One of your primary human boundaries is crossed before you're born. It's already written in stone, and that doesn't happen to us dudes. So I think that's part of it. Is part of being a woman, unfortunately, and I hate it, is the fact that before birth, your body is policy. It's governed by someone else. So but saying that, I do say that fully acknowledging that, it's not like women completely have no boundaries and they don't know how to set them. Like,
no, of course not. No,
it's literally an acknowledgement of the socialized element of why. I mean, there's another thing about it as well that I could talk about, but it's not. It's a bit. That's not really a PG-13 topic, to be honest with you. But yeah, basically ensuring that we practice boundaries, I think, is really important.
Yeah, it's a good start.
You're listening to the G&D Show with Gigi and Dan. We are catch-up coordinators here at City of Bristol College, and we support all learners and staff in any of your personal development needs, namely your study if you're wanting to really pass those GCSEs and A-levels this year. So contact us at thegdshowbristol@gmail.com if you fancy getting some progression in your life. Let's get back to the show.
Hi guys, welcome back to the G&D Show. So we come towards the end, the tail end of this podcast, and we are literally going to do our favourite part, right? We are going to do drum roll.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Would you rather?
Hey, all right, we're back at it. And I realised that we didn't get a chance to actually look them up. So
no, I have done one, actually. I did one earlier on.
Look at you, Mr. Fancy Pants. All right, go on then. When you're ready, okay. I'm gonna.
Right. Okay. So this one is not my usual dark sinister one, but I'm gonna give you this one. So this is. I'm being nice to you today. Would you rather have unlimited international first class tickets or never have to pay for food at restaurants?
Oh. No, the tickets. The tickets. Give me the tickets.
The tickets, okay. The tickets.
Yeah, you almost had me then. I don't know where my mind went. I don't know where my mind went because it didn't even go to good food. I literally thought. I thought of buffets.
Oh no, no.
So you give me free travel, first class travel, or buffets, and I'm like, oh, give me a second to think about this.
Where's your mind at? Seriously. Okay.
Buffets. For shame. Okay then, let me think. Would you rather would you rather be able to regrow your limbs or regrow any part of your body right back to the way it was in the snap of a finger? Or would you rather be able to literally connect, like telepathically connect with any person of your choosing throughout the world? And you can't hear them, but they can hear you.
That's a difficult one, but I'm going to go for telepathically connecting.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because then I'm just going to make sure I keep all my limbs intact.
But mate, think of the insurance fraud.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't even think about that.
Don't commit insurance fraud, people. Don't do it. I'm just joking.
Well, when you said the second part, when you said the second part about telepathically reading someone, I just thought of Mel Gibson, that movie, you know?
No,
what women want.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That was the opposite way.
I know. Never mind.
Have you seen What Men Want?
No. Is that even a thing?
Yeah.
But by you?
Taraji P. Henson. Yeah, absolutely.
I have not seen it. No.
If you ask me, better film.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Because I watched What Women Want, and actually I felt it didn't really play with the it was definitely played with the gender roles in a dated way. This one's updated itself a little bit. Still very much like gender roles and all that, but good. It's great. Yeah. So okay, fine. So you'd rather talk to people. You'd rather be able to. What would you say?
Um, I really don't know. You've really put me on the spot now, haven't you? I actually
Is that right?
I actually thought of that Robin Williams
Yeah.
program he used to have a long time ago, Mork and Mindy, or something like
Yeah.
that. I don't that
Yeah.
the strange noises he used to make. That's what I thought of. That's it. Sorry, I don't have anything intellectually interesting to say about what conversations I'd have, but
That's
it'd
fair.
be quite cool though. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh
Yeah, it
God, the
would be
amount of
cool.
helping you could do. Oh my God.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Helping.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's true. That is
Yeah.
true. I mean, I totally would mess with news reporters
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah,
straight off the bat.
you'd
I'd
actually
have
get
so much
slots,
fun
wouldn't
watching
you?
television. Oh, hell
I
yeah.
know. You'd get slots on live television for that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it'd be so much fun. Okay, then. Okay. Yo, have you got another one?
Um,
I'm looking for another one right
yeah.
now. I'm trying to find another one. That last one I made up right off the top of my head, and it was hard, but I'm glad it actually
Oh, I
worked.
got one here for you. This
Okay.
is quite
Okay.
rather pleasant. You'd like this one. So,
Yeah.
okay, Dan, would you rather be an average person in the present,
Yes.
or
What?
a king of a large country 2,500 years ago?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'd rather be named an average person in the present. I don't want to be a king back then, man. They barely had flushable toilets.
I know that's true. Actually, that's a good point.
I'll be a stinky king.
Hey, nothing wrong with the Stinky King. There's been quite a few of them.
No, I never liked the idea of that sort of authority as well. It doesn't sit with me very well
Mm,
because I'll be honest. I think emotionally, I am far too ideological to be a person of authority.
okay.
Far too ideological. And
Mm.
I mean that emotionally. I'd
Yeah,
understand,
no, that's fine.
all sorts, but I think with power, I wouldn't be responsible. So
Mm.
yeah, I think I'll be average. Yeah, I'll be average. Don't make me a king. Not a stinky king,
Right.
thanks. No.
The Stinky King coming to
Yeah.
cinemas near you.
I'm not. No, no. Okay, I'm gonna read this one out. All right, I'm gonna
Okay,
run this
okay.
one past you. Would you rather never know what you look like, or never know what any of your family looks like?
Oh,
I
oh God, Dan, where'd you
oh
get this one from?
I
Mm.
funny. Would you rather's apparently that's not
Yeah, right.
funny.
That's not
I'm
funny.
having a mild existential crisis over here.
Oh,
I don't.
probably I'm gonna go out and say
Oh,
this is so difficult, but just for a decision, I'd say probably okay with not knowing what I look like.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really tricky one though, but there's reasons behind that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That is
Yeah, no,
tricky.
I know exactly what you mean. Do you know? This is gonna sound really bad.
Go
It's
ahead.
hard because I. This is only hard because I love looking at my family. I think I have a very attractive family,
Mm,
and by extension, I do like my face.
hmm
So it's really tough for me to say. And I'm not. I feel a little bit embarrassed to say it, but it's true. I can't deny it. It's absolutely true. I actually do like my face. I don't think I'm the best thing since sliced bread, but I'm saying is when I look at my face, I don't recoil. Sometimes I do,
mm.
but I'm like, yeah, this is a bad day. It's fine. But sometimes I look at my face and I'm like, hey, you, what's going on with that face right there? And I think when I see all my family, I'm like, that's them good genes right there. So yeah, I don't think I'm hot ish, but I do think to myself, yeah, man, you're looking all right. So that's tough. I don't know. I don't know. Um, do you know? No. I think I'd same as you because I
Mm.
like being. I also like, particularly my mum. I love seeing my mum happy.
Oh, that's cute.
I love seeing my mum smile. It makes me. It fills me with joy. And my dad actually. When I
Mm,
see my mum and dad laugh, it brings me so much joy. So I would rather see them laugh than look at my face
mm.
because I don't see myself laugh very often. Because that's weird, isn't it? Imagine laughing and then looking in the mirror, watching yourself laugh. I don't do that. I don't like my face that much. I'm not on some
Mm,
American Psycho nonsense. But
mm,
yeah, I think I'd choose the same as you.
Yeah,
mind what I look like.
it's a real tough one though.
It is, isn't it? That wasn't funny at all, Google. What the hell's wrong with you?
I know.
No, ew. You got another one? We're just flying through these.
Have I got another one?
Yeah.
You know what? Someone very kindly, obviously a friend of mine, sent me these on Instagram, but I don't want to use any of those. I get chucked off this. I'd never be on this podcast ever again.
No, damn right. Okay. Oh, I love these. Okay, I've got one last one. We'll do one more each, then we'll call it a day. So go on. Well, yours first.
Oh, hold on.
Or do you want me to do mine while you're looking?
Yeah, you do that.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So, I've lost it. Damn it, where is it? I love these ones. No, where have you gone? There he is, right. Would you rather have to fight 100 pigeon-sized zebras or one zebra-sized pigeon?
Oh, I get freaked out by pigeons, so I'm going to go for the zebra-sized pigeons, please. Thank you very much. There's something about small things that give me a little bit of phobia. Big things are fine. I like for example, big dogs, right? I just literally hug big dogs.
Right,
small dogs, I'm like, oh no, thank you.
Yeah.
Keep them away from me.
I get it. I don't like things that scuttle.
No, right. So that was an easy decision. Okay, right. I've got a really good one for you.
Yeah.
Would you rather be an unimportant character in the last movie you watched, or an unimportant character in the last book you read?
I mean, I can't remember the last book I read.
Oh, Dan.
Mate, I can't. Mate, I haven't. Come on, I haven't done
I'm joking.
I haven't. No, I don't read. I listen to audiobooks. I don't read. Which is funny because people bought me books recently, and I'm like, thanks so much. I don't read. So I'm trying to desperately think of the last book I read. I can think of the last book I remember. I would rather be. What was the last film I watched? God, this is terrible.
Pixar.
Oh,
Pixar
no. The last film I watched, actually, funny enough, was the Avengers film. The first Avengers film. Okay. So, which characters? I don't get to pick because uninteresting could be one of the people in New York who get swamped by the aliens. They're completely uninteresting. So basically, which universe would I rather be in? Yeah, the Avengers. I'd rather be in the Marvel universe.
Okay.
Yeah, that one, and not live in New York because that place is a mess. So yeah, there you go.
Interesting you say that because one of the would you rather's had something to do with cities, so I'll reserve that for next time.
All right, cool. Okay then. All right, good. We did it, guys. We're here. Hooray! This has been great. Do you know what, Gigi? I'm going to let you go on. You sign us off. Go on.
Sign us off. Okay, so so let's quickly wrap this up. We literally spoke today about saying no, the power of saying no, how to say no, and how important and integral boundaries are to getting to that step.
Yeah.
If you have any complaints, no, I'm joking. You can. If you are a teacher listening to this, please do get in contact with us if you have any cool ideas or you want to run some workshops past in your classes. I believe the emails are thegdshowbristol@cityofbristol.ac.uk. Or did I get that wrong?
You got that massively wrong. Ignore all of that. Don't. No. You got it all wrong. I mean, there's one email. So it's thegdshowbristol@gmail.com.
There we go. That one there. That nugget right there. So we're hoping you found this very beneficial. And if you have the chance to, and you've got some spare time in your hand, it'd be fantastic to listen to our previous podcasts as well. As Dan said, I think this is our 9th one. So up until then, enjoy the rest of your week. And it's a goodbye from Gigi, and it's a goodbye from
me. Dan, sorry. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to the G&D Show. Thank you very much. If you've got any comments or questions, or if you're a student at City Bristol College and you want some one-to-one conversations with myself or Govinda, then please do email us at thegdshowbristol@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in another episode.